What if AI didn't just think, but could act in the real world? Not someday, it's now. Physical AI, the fusion of artificial intelligence with robotics, sensors, and real world interaction, is quietly becoming the next big disruption. And most businesses, they're still thinking about chatbots and dashboards. Now that's the gap and that's the opportunity. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. Now, most companies are heavily investing in AI, but only in its digital form. They are optimizing workflows, automating emails, and analyzing data. But here's the catch: digital AI stops at the screen, whereas physical AI moves into your operations. Think about warehouses, healthcare, manufacturing, logistics, retail. And if your AI strategy doesn't touch the physical world yet, you're already behind where the market is heading. Now, let's welcome Supriya Rathi, someone who is building and connecting the robotics ecosystem. She is widely recognized as India's foremost voice in robotics and physical AI. Physical AI, the integration of advanced machine learning with real world robotic systems, emerges as one of the defining technology shifts of this decade. And Supriya has been among the first to articulate its implications for the industry, not just in India, but globally. Hi, Supriya. Welcome to our podcast today.
Hi Priya, thank you so much for having me.
Likewise, it's a pleasure to have you on our podcast, Supriya. And I think, given your experience and your contribution towards the overall tech industry, we are definitely going to have a very delightful discussion around the least discussed topics at our podcast today, that is physical AI. So, without further wasting any time, let's get started. And I mean, of course, I gave a brief introduction about you, but we also want to understand more about you in detail. How has the journey been till date? What triggered your interest in robotics and physical AI? And if you can also highlight about your current role today.
Sure. So I've always been intrigued about robots since I was a child. I used to read a lot of science fiction. That led for to me to do like my master's in robotics from UK, and ever since then I've been involved in this field. But back then, like say in 2013, when I passed out, like there was absolutely nothing in the field of robotics. There were hardly any companies doing anything. So yeah, somewhere around 2016, I kind of got into the education sector and I started Olympics for Robots, wherein I tied up with IIT Bombay, Bombay's Tech Fest, which is the Asia's largest science and tech festival. And we hosted robots that could play human sports like archery, basketball, cricket, golf, boxing, bowling, all these sports. And that's how I thought that we could, get robotics rolling and the education kind of rolling in the country. Over a period of time, I have kind of evolved my roles, and currently I help brands with their growth and community building as a robotics consultant, having built a community online as well through LinkedIn and other social media platforms. So, yeah, that's what I'm at right now. And the field is kind of currently just getting started, it's just getting warmed up. So, the real world work in this field will kind of start right now, I guess.
Definitely, Supriya, and I must say that you have had an impressive journey, and I think it highlights how your path reflects the broader evolution of the industry itself. From navigating the early challenges to now shaping strategic direction for companies. It's clear that your work has not just kept pace with change, but actively contributed to it. And I think that naturally brings us to the next part of our conversation, Supriya. Now, for the past few years, the major breakthroughs in technology have reshaped the digital world. ChatGPT now has over 5 billion monthly active users, and 95% of US companies report using generative AI to boost business functions. As transformative as those digital breakthroughs have been, there's something even bigger on the horizon. And we are beginning the innovation transition from digital world to the physical one. And around us are signs that we are entering the age of physical agents. These are not just simple robotic systems of the past, like automated vacuums or manufacturing robots. They are the general purpose systems that can actually think, adapt, and make decisions in real time. So I think we are talking about robots in every form you can imagine, from cars and delivery drones to even humanoids, all acting with judgment and learning from experience. So, why is physical AI the next big shift beyond the software driven AI that we are experiencing today?
Right. As you very rightly said, like AI right now, it started with manipulating just texts and then it converts text into images, into videos, and most importantly, converting all the data into usable, outputs. So what's the next thing after all of it that it's already done, right? That's when robotics was also kind of parallelly evolving since last 20 years, wherein there were a few companies who were, trying to figure out a way of putting these physical models into action, but it was getting very difficult. They were getting really saturated with the kind of work they were doing. But AI kind of brought in that shift, wherein I always say that it's like a very simple analogy, wherein AI is equal to mind or a software, and a robot is equal to body and a hardware. Wherein finally the robot got its mind, which is the AI. And also, the AI is now getting out into the real world with us. So, like you had said before, like AI was just in the digital world, as in it was not really, accessible, like we couldn't touch it. But now, if AI were to do more things, like say, if AI were to perform actions, it would need hands, legs, it would need eyes, it would need wheels, it would need something outside of it to translate its data into the real world. And that is where robotics comes in. Even like how batteries came into picture, right? Because of batteries, like electric mobility, now robots are being energized because of batteries. Like we can draw a nice parallel between humans and robots as well. Like how we get our energy through food, robots will get their energy through batteries. Similarly, how we have our movements, robots gets their movements through actuators and motors. How we have our own brains, robots will have AI as their mind, as their brain. And how we have our vision system, we see through our eyes and we sense through our body. AI, we have like machine learning, computer vision, reinforcement learning, VLA, and certain such models that are coming up, which will act as the vision, as the sensors to the body of the robot. So it's like a next big thing for AI, wherein AI coming out of the digital world and having its own legs and hands to perform and be alongside humans, and perform even much more deeper tasks and support humans in much more dirty, dull, dangerous tasks that we have over the period of time kind of developed. So yeah, that's where it's getting into, because now all these other technologies, like I explained, like the electric mobility, the actuators, the motors, the tech around robotics along with AI is being developed now, and it's at a very good stage than what it was even 5 years back. We'll like see really great physical AI products around us over the next 3 to 5 years.
A very fascinating perspective, Supriya, and I really liked your analogy where you just explained that AI is the mind, and the robot and the heart of it is where we'll be seeing the more of integration of AI, like the complete package of tech that we can witness and physically witness. And I think when you talk about AI, it has largely been the backend person or about just processing information, analyzing data, and optimizing decisions on screens. But with physical AI, we are entering a phase where intelligence is no longer passive. It's embodied. It can sense, adapt, and act in dynamic and unpredictable environments. And that shift, I think, changes everything. Great, Supriya. Moving ahead, when we talk about robotics, we have seen robotics, and I think it has moved from research labs into factories and warehouses around the world. And this combination of AI with robotic systems is solving some real world problems that were impossible to address with just traditional automation alone. And I think companies who can deploy these intelligent robots today can experience measurable return on investment in terms of improved efficiency, a better quality, and capabilities that simply weren't available before. So, how do you think robotics is enabling real world intelligence across, some important industries, probably manufacturing, logistics, or healthcare for that matter?
Right. So I would say, see, physical AI is like really, really hard still. It's still yet to really come into picture. I'll divide it into three parts just for the sake of conversation. So we've all heard of AGI, that's artificial general intelligence. Before that, we come up with something called as ANI, which is artificial narrow intelligence. So it's artificial narrow intelligence, then general intelligence, and then super intelligence. Narrow intelligence is something that the robots would be able to do one particular task, right? General intelligence is robots will be able to do anything that is put out in front of it. And artificial super intelligence is something even what beyond what humans could do. Something that which is like, of course, very dangerous, dull, repetitive, but then something even like how robots could work 24/7, 365 days a year, something that humans can't do, something beyond that. So let's come down to saying it will start from ANI and then it will go to AGI over, say, next 10 to 15 years. And then it would go to ASI. Parallelly, there would be something that would happen parallelly as well. Having said that, when you come back to even talking about ANI, which is narrow intelligence, it's really, really hard right now still. It's at a very nascent stage. Like, not just India, but everywhere around the world, you'll see like there's like a lot of diversity and scale, in terms of the things that we use and the way people are. And in any sector, say medical or agriculture, or be it cooking, uh, having robots and all these fields, being underwater robotics and all of those things. So like there's a lot to play around here. Like, there's gravity, there's force, there's texture, materials, there's like a lot of physics involved, and the robots are yet to have that sensory, that touch, that feel, in the real world. They're still learning all of these skills. They're still learning how to handle themselves and then how to handle whatever it is that they touch, they feel, they look at, the distance, the scale, all of it. So there are still a lot of things that are yet to come in the picture. All of these things are still in research and development. Above and all above that is safety. The concern, as in, industries are still more rough and, rough and tough. Like, there's still certain mistakes that are still acceptable, but when it comes to homes and our private areas, which is like more sensitive to kids and older people, safety is like the biggest concern. So that safety, the security, the data security, all of that comes into picture, and also the understanding of the tech from both sides, from someone who's adopting it and from someone who's even selling it, from both ends. That understanding, that safety, that security, it's still yet to be designed, because the robots are yet to be completely designed. Like you had said before, like it'll come in all shapes and sizes and forms. So you don't know in what shape or size or form you might see a particular robot around you, and how do you get comfortable with it. That's why like there's a lot of talk around humanoid robotics, because they look like us, so that's why it feels familiar. You feel safe because then someone who looks like you might behave like you. That's why robot dogs, the quadruped robots, are kind of coming into picture, because then you understand that, okay, it's a dog like tech. So all of those things kind of, they come into picture, and then that's why they take a certain shape, a certain form, and then accordingly things kind of get designed around it. Over and above that, the costs kind of come in picture, wherein if we were to bring down the cost of adoption of cost of the robots, so that they're adopted faster and better, and then the builders get a better data of what needs to be done more, and then they deliver it back to the users again, and then that kind of goes back and forth initially with every technologies, and then that kind of brings down the cost of robot in terms of R&D, in terms of how much data they collect, so that it's more useful. in terms of if they start mass adopting, you kind of start mass producing, and that kind of brings down the cost of the robots. So all of these things also kind of play a role in making sure how a robot or a robotics system or a robotic solution is adopted in industries or at homes. So keeping in mind, like, all of these things together will kind of enable how physical AI or robots will be used in real world. And you'll see that across industries. They have been adopted mostly in warehouse right now and in industrial automation, because we kind of had a certain level of automation there already. Taking it out of the industries and putting it, in agriculture fields, in cooking areas as chefs, in medical fields wherein, every life is so important, in hospitality, in underwater robotics, like I said earlier, and a lot more, like in solar farming, in space, in entertainment, in sports, even in social robots, wherein robots are kind of being there for the older people, of someone who's like, adding, like, they are like much of a broader concept of social robots, wherein they're adding to the emotional state of a person. So all of these things put together, there are so many factors that kind of will play into picture according to how it will go in each of these sectors that I just defined. So yeah, a long way to go, but a lot's happening. A lot of companies are coming into picture. A lot of VCs are now coming into picture, wherein because we require, patient capital. So a lot of more things that are coming into picture, which actually require better companies to build better products, have a better quality of life for the people that, this tech is being built.
That was a very insightful share with us, Supriya. And I mean, of course, robotics is something that we are seeing the shift right now. And like you said, there's a long way to go. Of course, we need more collaborative efforts across all stakeholders. We need the government, private players, R&D teams, and policy action all together needed in terms of advancing robotics and physical AI across different industries so that we can witness some real world and real first-hand, I would say, benefits of a physical AI. And, I think it's not just about automation anymore. I think it's more about augmentation at scale. And, as these systems continue to evolve, the question is no longer whether robotics will transform industries, but how deeply it will redefine the way humans and machines collaborate. Great. I would like to shift our conversation's context to something Indian perspective now, Supriya. India plays a multifaceted role in the global AI ecosystem beyond just talent and services. And, it is positioning itself as a leader in AI adoption, governance, and even development. We have seen initiatives like the India AI mission, which was launched in 2024, where it is pioneering exclusive AI governance that emphasizes safety, transparency, and equitable access while also, ensuring global innovation. So, what do you think, what would be the role of India in terms of its presence or its contribution towards global physical AI ecosystem?
For that, I'll just like give a context as in why robots are even built right now, right? Robots are basically kind of like how the buzzwords is saying that they are replacing humans, but that's not entirely or directly true. When you see around the world, you can see most of the countries' populations are kind of decreasing, right? And that's why, to keep up with the quality of life of these countries and the people of these countries, they are wanting someone to replace the people that are not really there for the job. Like, they don't genuinely don't find people for that particular job, and that's why they needed something to replace that vacuum in their society, and that's when robots kind of fit in really well for them. Having said that, when we come back to India and we see the population of India as compared to the world, we are right now at number one, right? We've surpassed China as well. So the question is, do we really require robots in India? We don't really require robots in India. We still have a long way to go. But how physical AI, how robotic companies or startups or people who are interested to build in this space can, add to the world is we are now seeing a lot of founders, a lot of companies being built in India, and they are building it for the world because they understand this market. They are very passionate about building these technologies, and because everything is online, the technology is very accessible. It's very feasible to go around, study the market, develop such tech, and put it out there, build in India, but for the world. So that is where I would say we would see the start of usage of robots in India. We wouldn't see a direct implementation of it in India as compared to the world. It does not mean that there aren't any spaces where robots aren't entering in India, but as compared to other, China or US, Germany, South Korea, UK, Japan, of course, Singapore, as compared to these global leaders, we are seeing, which is like a great opportunity wherein people can actually build in India and take it to the world. So that is something that I am seeing in around the ecosystem as well, and that is something that everyone is excited as well to build.
Right, definitely. And, I think India definitely has a lot of advantages considering the engineering talent and the rapidly evolving startup ecosystem. And I think the country is well positioned to bridge the gap between the digital intelligence and the physical systems. And I think that's what is pushing, countries' innovation to not just be cutting edge, but also scalable and accessible, which could make Indian built physical AI solutions highly relevant for global markets, especially across the other emerging economies. And, it will be really interesting to see how India moves from being just a hub of talent and experimentation to becoming a global exporter of physical AI systems and standards in the coming years. Moving ahead, we discuss about certain hurdles when it comes to creating these robots and deploying them. I mean, we have also understood how it is growing and how businesses can explore integrating them into their operations. While it is advancing and I think we are facing certain challenges in terms of how organizations can understand that these AI and robotic systems can operate effectively in structured and real world environments. So, according to you, what are some biggest challenges these systems are facing in terms of operational efficiency, and how do you think we can tackle them?
In terms of operational efficiency, the number one thing that we are facing is the challenge in supply chain of the products, of the components that are being used in a robot. And that is across all countries around the world. The only country kind of who seem to have cracked this supply chain issue is, of course, it wouldn't be a surprise, it's China. They have really built like kind of a village around wherein you get all the supplies of the products of the product in concern, which is any of the robotic systems just around them, and fetching those products, the cost of the products, the delivery time taken, the delivery cost as well, and also the tech, the quality of tech. All of that kind of is like in their advantage because of this supply chain system. So that is something that is really challenging for most parts of the world and also for India, is getting all the components at a very good rate here in the country itself and then building it in India. Because we've seen robotic startups face those issues, especially the ones that are starting up. Like, where do we procure those parts from when we are building such a company here in the country? Like, downtime kind of sometimes push down to like a month, wherein they need to wait for the parts to arrive from certain other part of the world. They need to actually go around the world and do that data survey or the component survey. That takes up a lot of time, a lot of costing. So yeah, components and supply chain is something that is a major blockage in this system. And there are some government initiatives, and there are some private company initiatives that are kind of helping set up this ecosystem. But of course, it will take time. It as and when the ecosystem grows, and as and when we have more founders building in this space, as and when we have more tech coming in, which actually reduces the cost of these systems as well. If as and when we'll have more companies building these components like actuators, sensors, microprocessors in the country, we'll see the cost of development of the product go down, the time of development of the product go down, wherein if I have to deliver a product say in next week, I can actually order those components just a day before, 24 hours before, knowing that it is coming from the same city or the same somewhere around the city, and then that kind of helps shorten the time period of even creating either a prototype or like robots at scale. So that is also something that anyone who is also getting to come into robotics can look at. It's a great opportunity that if you unlock how to do this, you can kind of unlock certain part of the market as well, and you can of course help the ecosystem in turn. And of course, the technology is also a blockage wherein it requires a lot of capital, the R&D, the research and development that goes into the new technologies, the creating new components, testing them. So that the cost of R&D is also a challenge. We need patient capital, not just from private investors for companies, but also from like government, like governments. They do have grants, and also a lot of R&D capital should go in universities through their labs or through their other different programs, because I have been talking about research and development from around the world, and I have seen that most majority of the robotic companies have come out from these best of the universities in the world, wherein they give them the support to build those products, give them the area, the space that they need, give them the tech that they need, the collaborations, very important collaborations that they need to build that particular tech, and of course the capital that they need to build that tech, and then to scale it to a certain level until when they can then move out of the campus of the incubator inside the campus. So it's very important for universities, I think, to fund these kind of projects in any way, either in the way of competitions or grants or some getting VCs together, collaborating with either influencers or collaborating with other founders. So yeah, that is something that I think most of the universities should definitely look at. I think yeah, these would be a couple of things to get started with.
Right, right. And I think you very well highlighted that, the challenges are not just related to technology or just a single tech problem. I think it's an overall ecosystem challenge that requires breakthroughs through the hardware, people, policy action, and data. And, that's where perhaps the next wave of innovation will happen. Not just in making AI more powerful, but actually ensuring resilient and grounded physical AI in the complexities that we are already facing. And I think, yes, we need a collaborative effort from, like I had mentioned, from all the stakeholders of the ecosystem to create more awareness around physical AI and, pump up more investments in robotic startups or, advancing and propelling these companies in generating more advancements. And I think that's where we can see the shift then moving ahead. Great, Supriya. So one last question for you, and that would be something that, of course, I cannot miss in our today's conversation is the relationship between humans and machines, and how these exciting innovations can transform how humans work and live, and how both of them can exist together. So, how do you see the relationship between humans and these intelligent robots evolving in the physical AI ecosystem?
Yeah, Priya, that's like a great question. That is something that will determine one of the very, very major factors that will determine the adoption of robots, right? How friendly they are, how easy looking they are, how light or comfortable they are to be around, their movements, the way they look. Like, we spoke about how the shape or the form would it take. So that's where it will help wherein right now robots are much of a tool, right? So we need to look at a robot just beyond a tool of efficiency, just beyond something that will give us speed, that will give us productivity, automation. We need to look at a robot in terms of a companion, someone that has come around us into our lives to help us better the quality of our life. Like, for example, we've had certain social robots that have been around the world who's helping in old age homes, just being around people, having conversations with them, talking with them, what medicines they need to take, or just playing around with them, and just having that very normal conversations, which will actually not make you feel that you're talking to a technology, right? Right now, when we talk to a chat GPT, sometimes we blur that line between thinking that are we really talking to a machine, or is it like, an actual human, wherein it's just like a transformer back somewhere in China or back somewhere in some other part of the country, which is like a completely, tech base. So that is where we need to come down to saying that the way the robots look, the way they talk to you, the way they interact with you, that needs to be very human like. That's when the real adoption will kind of take place, because if they are really heavy, they might fall on someone, any case of, say, misfortune in these terms would like kind of bring in the safety and security questions as to who's responsible. Is the person who's owning the robot responsible, or the person who builds the robot responsible? All of these questions need to be answered. Also, when we'll have robots around us, say in our homes or in our environments, the robots will constantly be hearing and watching us, right, through cameras and through microphones. Like we have our phones right now, like it's constantly hearing us, and that's why our algorithms, we usually say that, okay, we were talking about something, and we just see that the same things in our algorithm right now. So something similar security, not something similar, but even much more deeper security issues are here at place, wherein not just microphones, the robots will also have cameras on them. So they'll also be able to see our entire environment, and homes are something so personal to us. So it's also about seeing that if you want to build a better human and robot relationships, we need to build a better security in terms of data that is collected by each of the robots, either if it's for a private use or for like an industrial use. So if we can address these kind of questions, which of course every robot builder is kind of trying to do that, no matter, even if it's like a social robot, which is kind of helping in old age homes, or be it these robots who are working in industries, very high flammable or very high security industries, wherein the data cannot be breached from those industries to the private robot owners, or the robot builders data site. And also homes, when right now we just have vacuum cleaning robots around us, but the more robots we have for cooking or for doing our laundry, for walking our dogs, taking care of our kids or grandparents, all of these things are very sensitive to us. And the more we can, every builder can kind of relax and sort that aspect, we'll be able to adopt robots much better.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with the conversation that we had, we are optimistic about the future. We can build with these systems, not just to create new companies and products, but to build a new kind of infrastructure that can transform every industry and unlock entirely new ones. Of course, we should focus on the nervous system of tomorrow's change agents, and we should work with founders and innovators to build these systems that will work alongside us, help us grow sustainably and take on tasks, but also ensuring data privacy and security, which ultimately boils down to creating more trust between a human and a machine. Thank you so much, Supriya, for your time and effort to be on our podcast today and, helping us understand that physical AI is not just a tech trend, it's a transformative force reshaping how we can live and work. But also by addressing certain real world challenges with intelligent and adaptive systems, it promises a future of enhanced productivity, innovation, and safety. And I think as the market surges and connectivity evolves, physical AI will increasingly integrate into our everyday life, from smart factories to autonomous homes. Thank you so much, Supriya, for your insights today. It was lovely chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. That's always been like my motto, and on my journey to try and understand how people are kind of trying to view robotics or physical AI, and making it much more simpler by interacting with more people and trying to make sure that they understand the tech before they adopt them. So, yeah.
Thank you for that, Supriya. So, this is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion around physical AI, robotics, and how the journey has just begun, but its potential is boundless. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes, and you can view all our previous episodes on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.